Everything's a go back there, Ashley? We're good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Public meeting of August 12th, the West Grey Planning. And first thing, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof from anyone? Seeing none, can be declared if it does arise. All committee members are here. I was going to say, I believe Councillor Shea, committee member Shea is joining us virtually. Just wanted to confirm that. Ashley, is he with us or? Yep. Okay, thank you. And our first, am I good? Okay. We have three items to address today and open the meeting. And Ashley, can you let anybody know online how they can participate? Please, Ms. Noble.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Eccles, before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to West Grey Communications, and I will attempt to assist you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Noble. Some preliminary announcements that I have to make, and I believe the clerk has a couple as well too. I would like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public. Every person that attends a statutory public meeting required under the Planning Act shall be given an opportunity to make representation in respect of the proposed bylaw. All submission materials for this application are available at the West Grey Municipal Office during regular business hours. This meeting is an essential part of the decision-making process. Feedback received will be considered in the decision of West Grey Council. An explanation of how the public and agency comments factored into the decision will be included in the notice of the passing of the bylaw. Where changes made in the proposed bylaw after holding of the public meeting, Council will determine if any further notice will be given respecting the proposed bylaw. And the determination of Council as to the giving of further notice is final and not subject to review in any court, no matter the extent of the changes made to in the proposed bylaw. Thank you. That's mine. Mr. Clerk, Jamie, you have some.
Thank you. And through Mayor Eccles, notice of this public meeting was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. Anyone wishing to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the podium. Personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Planning Act. The information collected will be used to complete the zoning bylaw amendment process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey and the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Municipality of West Grey, care of the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you very much, Jamie. And next, we'll hear from our planner, Mr. Smith. You have some comments on this application?
Mr. Mayor, Council, file ZA 17 2025 Can-Do Homes for the property at 150 Mill Street East. I ask Ashley if you could bring up page 3 of 49 and the PDF for today's Planning Council meeting. Thank you, Ashley. Shown online and on the council chambers is just a page 1 of the ZA 17 2025 report to council. The purpose and effect of this application is rezone the subject lands at 150 Mill Street East entirely as floodway FL to prohibit the construction or erection of any buildings or structures to satisfy the condition of consent. Earlier this year, West Grey Community of Adjustment Land Division Committee approved application file B11-2025, 150 Mill Street East for a severance. As part of the conditions of that severance, there's a requirement to zone the remnant parcel to prohibit development on the parcel. This particular case, 150 Mill Street East are designated primary settlement area and hazard in the County of Grey official plan and designated downtown commercial and environmental protection in the West Grey official plan with a flood fringe constraint on the lot. The lands are currently zoned C1 192 downtown commercial exception and floodway with flood line with regulation limit. In other words, there's quite a bit of flood issues in the downtown area of Durham. This property is certainly well within that area, which is why we get a lot of the floodway and flood fringe overlays in this particular area. In this particular case, again, the zoning application would prohibit the development of lands primarily due to actually a proximity to the existing structure problem. So when we severed the property earlier this year, the building that's on the one lot has a number of side-facing windows, doors, et cetera, that in terms of building development need to have separation distance from any other buildings. And there's not enough room on the abutting lot in order for that to happen. The other abutting lot is also significantly within the floodway area, kind of thing like that, with only a very small portion of it that's available for development. So the request from building and recommended by myself is that the entire lot, quote unquote, would be zoned FL. Currently, it's used as a parking lot. There's no implications to any existing buildings on it, and there was no indications that there was ever any intent to build on in this particular lot in the future. We reviewed the application versus the provincial planning statement. We circulated it to internal staff, including West Grey Public Works and Building Fire, with no concerns. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority has reviewed the application. They do find consistent with the natural heritage policies. And they do support the zoning that would prohibit development on the lot. With no comments from public received as of the writing of the report or since that report was uploaded to the West Grey website. As I mentioned, we reviewed the application versus the provincial planning statement, the County of Grey official plan, and the West Grey official plan. We do find that the application to zone it to FL floodway would meet the requirements of those particular plans and policies. And overall, we do recommend that the application as proposed, the recommendation in the planning report be approved by council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Looking us down, is there any comments from the applicant? No comment at this point in time. Very good. Comments from the public. I'm going to start online. Ashley, is there anybody online that wishes to make comment on this application? No? Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience have any concerns with this? Okay. Nobody? All right, then we're down to there's a recommendation there. How does the committee want to deal with this? Anybody? Thank you, Tom.
You're very welcome. Welcome, and well, I will move the recommendation as in the report.
ZA 17/2025.
Yeah, staff report, ZA 17/2025, Can Do Homes Mill Street, council direct staff to report a bylaw to amend bylaw number 37-2006 as it relates to ZA 17/2025. Thank you.
Very good. We have a seconder for that. Councillor Hutchison. Doug? Any questions or comments? Councillor Shea.
Thank you. This will end up being a parking lot, as it has always been. I assume it's a private parking lot for use by neighboring businesses or whomever the landowner decides to allow to park there. There's no discussion, I presume, for making this into a municipal parking lot, is there?
Well, it's privately owned, and I guess we could enter into a discussion to purchase, but at this point, no. Indication is not at this point.
Okay, thank you.
David, did you want to? That's good? Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? Duly moved and seconded, I'll call. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, thank you. That moves us on to number 2. Excuse me, zoning amendment 26-2024, 192 Park Street. And I'll declare that this public meeting for the 192 Park Street East is open. And Ashley, if you can give us a update on anybody that's joining virtually.
Members of the public joining virtually wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in one of 2 ways. If you have joined via phone, press star 9 to raise your hand. This would let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, star 9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to West Gray Communications. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Noble. Some preliminary announcements from the chair. I would like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public. Every person that attends a statutory public meeting required under the Planning Act shall be given an opportunity to make representation in respect of the proposed bylaw. All submission materials for this application are available at the West Gray Municipal Office during regular business hours. This meeting is an essential part of the decision-making process. Feedback received will be considered in the decision of the West Gray Council. An explanation of how the public and agency comments factored into the decision will be included in the notice of the passing of the bylaw. Where changes made in the proposed bylaw after holding of a public meeting, council will determine if any further notice will be given respecting the proposed bylaw. And the determination of council as to the giving of further notice is final and not subject to review in any court, no matter the extent of the changes made in the proposed bylaw. Mr. Clerk, you have some comments.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And through you, notice of this public meeting was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. Anyone wishing to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the podium. The personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Planning Act. The information will be used to complete the zoning bylaw amendment process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Gray and the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Municipality of West Gray, care of the Legislative Services, care of the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you, Jamie. And an overview, Mr. Smith. What have
Thank
got?
you, Mr. Mayor. Council files ZA 26-2024. Can-Do Homes, Cobalt Engineering is their representative for 192 Park Street East. Ashley, can you bring up page 16 of 49 in the PDF, please? Thank you. The purpose of the application is rezone the lands from C2 highway commercial to R3 high density residential exception holding and FF flood fringe overlay to permit the construction of a 6-unit street townhouse at 192 Park Street East. I'm going to ask you to go to page 28 of 49 in the PDF. Sorry, let's go one more, 30. One more, 31. Thank you. Shown on screen, the council chambers and online is a schematic site plan of the 6-unit street townhouses proposed with frontage onto Park Street East. It is a corner lot with Albert Street, and we are just a little bit east of Garifrax Highway 6 here in the town of Durham. Again, as I mentioned, the lots front onto Park Street East, rear yards onto the abutting side yard onto the north side, a commercial development butting onto it immediately to the west, and the Albert Street to the east, and a small size apartment building across Park Street to the south. The lands are designated as highway commercial on Schedule A of the West Gray official plan. It's within the primary settlement area of Durham, within the County of Gray official plan. The lot is within the SVCA proximate screening area for Camp Creek Drain. The SVCA is of the opinion that the application is acceptable, provided certain issues are addressed in the implementing bylaw and that no site alteration occur prior to the issuance of a Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority permit. There is a new stormwater system to be constructed at the developer's cost. It will drain water to the Camp Creek Drain, which is why the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority and West Gray Infrastructure and Public Works are involved. Park Street East, in this particular case, will not be reconstructed or upgraded to the West Gray urban standard. There will be no sidewalk on Park Street East or in this particular area. There are no sidewalks there now. It is if I'll call that old-fashioned street profile in terms of just pretty much pavement, and a little bit of gravel on the sides in places. It is not to an urban standard this particular time, and there's no recommendation from Infrastructure and Public Works to upgrade this particular set of roadway, considering the relatively small number of people in the overall area. There are sidewalks, of course, on Highway 6 and access for pedestrians once they get out there, but in terms of the internal street, there's no requirements at this time for upgrade. The owner has indicated that long-term intent is to sever the units, and West Gray will require the severance to occur via consent, not par law control. That's in order for us to be able to allow the use of consent agreements and to regulate the long-term log grading on the property overall. The development consent agreement is required, as I mentioned. The holding will be applied to the property until such time as the agreement is finalized. That will also match up with the requirements of the Conservation Authority, the recommendations of the Conservation Authority in regards to no alterations to the property and so on and so forth until the final SVCA permits are issued for the property or for the development and for the connection of the new stormwater management pipes to the Camp Creek Drain. Excuse me, we circulated the application of various agencies, including West Gray Public Works Infrastructure. And as I mentioned, upgrades to the Park Street roadway are not required for this development. The stormwater lock gradings proposed by Cobite Engineering is acceptable. And the owner will be responsible, of course, for all permits, including stormwater ECA, construction costs for the stormwater in the Park Street and Albert Street right away. That building has no concerns, fire has no concerns. County of Gray has no concerns. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority application would be acceptable provided the zoning bylaw includes provision that development to be flood-proofed to the elevation of the Hurricane Hazel flood event standard. Safe access is confirmed that a permit from the SVCA be obtained prior to carrying out any development and or site alteration on the property. And I mentioned the implementing zoning bylaws would be recommended, will include a minimum flood-proofing elevation for the units. That would match up with the permit and the reviews done already by the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. Holding provision will be applied to the property, but only in relation to the requirement to enter into development consent agreement with West Gray. There have been no comments received as of July 28th when the report was written, and no comments received verbally or written since that time and when we uploaded the report to the West Gray website. The lot is legally identified as Lot 12, Plan 507, approximately 0.3 acres in size, and again with defined settlement area of Durham. Has access to existing municipal sewer and municipal water. There's no stormwater drainage system in this area at all, which is why we have to take a look at the provisions of that in terms of potential flooding and getting rid of the extra water since we are intensifying the use of the site. There were documents submitted by Cobite Engineering in support of the application, including a planning brief, severance sketch, development site plan, the site grading plans, and the site servicing plan. Reviewed the application versus the provincial planning statement 2024, which applies to all applications as of October 20th, 2024. Review policies regarding housing, settlement areas, sewage, water, and stormwater, and natural hazard. And overall, we did find that the application was consistent with the provincial policy statement 2024. According to the County of Gray official plan, the application and the lands are designated as primary settlement area. Section 3.5 of the official plan does, of course, direct major development such as this to primary settlement area. And the official plan for the County of Gray does support intensification and require new construction to occur in a manner that is compatible with the existing built and physical environment and compatible surrounding land uses. Compatible does not mean exactly the same. It just means they need to exist in a manner that is respects each other in that regard. Water and sanitary sewer services, I mentioned, will be provided. There is municipal waste removal and recycling services. And the log grading storm water plan, as I mentioned, has been reviewed and found acceptable. There will be increased traffic on Park Street East, the local roadway, and the additional dwelling units not expected to cause any transportation issues, and there are no concerns regarding increased traffic at the intersection of Highway 6 Fairfax Street and Park Street East from the 6 units. As I noted, the Park Street East will not be upgraded to the urban standard, and there'll be no sidewalk constructed. Overall, I do find that the application does maintain the general intent and purpose of the County of Grey official plan. In terms of the West Grey official plan, the lands are designated highway commercial at the present time. However, Part F14 of the official plan does allow us to recognize existing uses. The house that was on the property had been a long-standing use on the property for many years. Prior to purchase by Can-Do Homes. The official plan does allow us to recognize those kind of uses and evaluate other uses such as the 6-unit proposal here in that regard. And overall, we did recognize and review the application versus the goals of the official plan in terms of housing and residential as opposed to the highway commercial development. Our official plan does promote development through intensification and infilling. We do provide detailed policies in terms of that, in terms of the residential designation. We do encourage housing that is affordable to low and moderate income housing. This particular style of development, the street townhouses, as opposed to single detached or even semi-detached, has the opportunity to possibly address those particular policies. Overall, we do find that the application does meet the requirements of the official plan in terms of adequate buffering, uses, compatibility, sewer and water services, storm water, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of the existing relationship, in terms of compatibility, there is the existing single detached house immediately to the north. The rear wall of the closest end unit, if you take a look on the screen, that would be the unit sitting at the corner of Albert and Park Street, that very last unit on the east. Its rear yard or rear corner is basically at the back end of the house, if we were to put it on the map, on the north side of the property. So there's no major overlap. The majority of the property to the north, its backyard is vacant, and that is where the backyards of these particular units would be ending up. So we don't have any, we do have a reduced rear yard, but in terms of that compatibility, we're not having a building to building particular issue in terms of how the lot is being set up, with the building being pushed a little bit further to the west than it is to the east. The rear wall, the closest end unit will be approximately 11 meters from the existing dwelling on the lot to the north. This is actually an improvement over the previous setbacks before the house was removed, which was about 7.3 meters with the existing house that was removed. So this is a improvement in terms of providing additional space between the residential units here at the corner of Park and Albert. The new dwelling units, including the end unit, will, however, sit higher than the current elevations due to the need to flood-proof the new units. Excuse me, those log grading and all the rest of it to raise the units up was looked at to make sure that the water movement from the new platform that we were raised up is that we're still keeping the water onto the property itself that we're developing and directing that water and your runoff into the stormwater system that we're going to build into the Park Street and the Albert Street right of ways. In other words, we're of course interested in not flooding out the house to the north by raising the platform and directing water there. So the overall log grading will allow the water to move along the rear yards and move down towards Albert Street before being directed by underground to the Cam Creek drain. There is enough sufficient capacity in the Durham water and sewer system to accommodate the development. As I mentioned already, the stormwater management has been reviewed already. Each dwelling unit will have a separate driveway and room for one vehicle in the driveway. Plus, at the moment, there is a planned attached garage for each unit that will provide two. We certainly know that in a lot of cases, housing and development and housing overall, we certainly struggle at times providing enough off-street parking in parts of uptown. So here we're starting with at least a minimum of two. There are no sidewalks proposed, and the 6-meter setback proposed front yard setback is acceptable in this particular case. When we do have proposed sidewalks, we do ask for more in order to ensure the Vehicles are not parked across the driveway, but here with the no sidewalks on the the side of Park Street, the 6-meter front yard setback is acceptable. There's no requirement for additional landscaping or buffering as the proposed uses and abutting uses will be sufficiently set back from one another. The new uses are not significantly larger in scale and there'll be no overshadowing. And overall, I do find that the zoning amendment maintains the general intent and purpose of the West Gray official plan. In terms of the West Gray zoning bylaw, currently zoned R1B residential, it would have to go to an R3 high-density residential exception with a flood fringe overlay. Proposed development does not meet a number of the R3 zone provisions. However, the proposals overall, as I mentioned, are acceptable within that. I think the questions to be asked is whether or not the development proposed would negatively impact the use of the neighboring properties. Would it negatively impact current or future West Gray infrastructure? Would allow for sufficient on-site amenity areas, et cetera, et cetera. And overall, in terms of this being compatible with neighboring property owners, we find that there's, again, relatively no to minimal impact on neighboring property owners. Overall, we reviewed the application and we do find that the general intent and purpose of the West Gray zoning bylaw is maintained and represents good planning. I recommend that the recommendations provided in the planning report be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And any comments from the applicant? Do you want to? Routine would be to give your name and sign the sheet at some point in time there. Ma'am?
Through your worship. My name is Dana
Yeah.
Kiefer. I'm a senior development planner with COBIDE here on behalf of the applicants. Dave went over that very thoroughly, so I don't have a lot of comments to add. I did just want to say to council, it's 6 units. They are going to be proposed to be 3 stories. And Can-Do is hoping to do kind of a more attainable market value on these. And that's kind of the target that they're going for. It's the only comments I wanted to add. Thanks, Dave. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Anyone else from the applicant side? That's good. Comments from the public. And first I'll ask, is there anybody online? Ms. Noble? No? Okay. Anybody within the chambers, public, have comment on this one? Any council members? Sorry, I keep using council. We're in committee right now. It is council? Oh, I was right. It's the first time today. Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Thank you. So to the planner, did I understand you to say that the stormwater runoff would traverse the backyards of these properties, enter onto Albert Street, and then connect to the Camp Creek drain? And is there any infrastructure that has to be built to accommodate that?
David?
Yes. The log grading is set up what we call rear yard swales that keeps the water on the property, first of all. The swale is graded from west to east to move the water along the rear. There is a proposed new in-ground catch basin and so on and so forth, and piping to be installed in Albert Street, which is why we require, Public Works requires an agreement in order to have that infrastructure built. It also requires an amendment to our environmental compliance approval for stormwater for the connection to Camp Creek drain itself and approval from the Conservation Authority. That's the rear yards. The front yards are drained to Park Street east itself. So we front yards drain one way, the backyards drain another way. But the elevations between the edge of the driveways and the roadway are such that there's kind of a small swale, so the water will run down just like on a regular street, kind of in that curb area. The elevations will have the water basically move around a little bit over Albert Street before entering into the same drain as proposed for the rear yards.
And to follow up, does the developer contribute to that catch basin and infrastructure?
They pay for all of it.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? How does council want to deal with this committee? Joyce, Councillor Newton.
I move forward that we accept the recommendation as outlined in the report.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Townsend. Thank you, Doug. Vice. Motion's been duly moved and seconded to accept the recommendations as presented. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That is carried. Very good. All right. Moving right along. That moves us down to public meeting on zoning amendment 07-2025. Planning 16204 Gariff Street South. I'll declare the public meeting for this zoning application open. And Ms. Noble, can you give us an update on anybody that wants to join or has trouble joining virtually?
If you have joined via phone, press star 9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, star 9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to West Grey Communications.
Thank you, Ashley. I have some announcements to make. I would like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public. No decision on this application will be made at today's public meeting. Every person who attends a statutory public meeting required under the Planning Act shall be given an opportunity to make representation in respect of the proposed bylaw. All submission materials for this application are available at the West Grey Municipal Office during regular business hours. This meeting is an essential part of the decision-making process. Feedback received will be considered in the decision of the West Grey Council. An explanation of how the public and agency comments factored into the decision will be included in the notice of passing of the bylaw. Where changes made in the proposed bylaw after holding of a public meeting, council will determine if any further notice will be given respecting the proposed bylaw. And the determination of council as to the giving of further notice is final and not subject to the review in any court, no matter the extent of the change made in the proposed bylaw. That's it for my comments, and I'll turn to the clerk. You have some statutory.
Thank you. And through your miracles, notice of this public meeting was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. Anyone wish to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the podium. The personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Planning Act. The information collected will be used to complete the zoning bylaw and official plan amendment process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the corporation, the municipality of West Grey, and the proposed zoning bylaw and official plan amendment, you must make a written request to the municipality of West Grey, care of the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you, Jamie. And an overview, Mr. Smith from the Planning Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council files at A07-2025 and West Grey Official Plan Amendment 16 for 1872 Durham Corp. Ashley, can we go 37 to 49 in the PDF? Start there. One more page, please. 38. Thank you. The development is referred to as the Foundry, operating as a restaurant in the town of Durham. And the existing lot on the Foundry has what we call split official plan designations and split zoning. And West Grey Official Plan Amendment number 16 would redesignate lands on the split zoning, a split designation from residential to downtown commercial to permit the construction of a new 10-room motel on the same lot as the existing restaurant. The zoning bylaw amendment for ZA 07-2025 would rezone the lands from R1B residential and FF flood fringe overlay to C1 general commercial exception and flood fringe overlay, and include a motel as a permitted use. So we go to page 46, Ashley. Shown on screen is the split and the official plan designation for the lot. The lot is shown in blue. The red is the downtown commercial, and the grayish brownish over on the west side of the lot is the portion of the lot that's within the residential. It's been that way for many, many years. And as you can see, in some respects, the downtown commercial line was continued on from the existing downtown commercial that existed on Garifraxa. That's basically where they got the line from, as opposed to including the entire lot back in 2012, whatever it was at that time. So there's the split designation on it. So again, the lot is all of it in blue. The downtown commercial is the red. The residential is the brownish color, and it's the brownish color that would be changing to red to match the remainder of the lot. Go to the next, sorry, and the blue, you can't quite see it. There is blue hatching over top, which is the flood fringe over the entire property itself. Next page, please. 47. 47 is showing the split in the zoning, which basically matches up with the official plan designations. The mauve, is it light pink? I don't know what color is the downtown commercial zoning, and then the residential, the R1B, and the yellowish gold, which again matches up with the official plan designation itself, mapping overall. The little stippled dots comes from the flood fringe overlay again. One more, please. Page 48, please. This is a schematic of the building drawing itself. Close up, the lands in red are the lands that we're talking about in terms of the zoning amendment and the official plan amendment. We're seeing at the top end, the north end is post parking together with the 10-unit motel unit stretched along the west end of the property boundary. There's of course no changes proposed at all for the foundry portion of the property and its current parking. It's all perfectly fine the way it sits at the moment. The motel would have 12 parking spaces, including one accessible space that would be for the sole use of patrons of the motel. As part of the internal discussion with staff at the moment is that having a motel will need to have dedicated parking. There's not a lot of parking available between a very busy restaurant. The Foundry has had very good success, and at times parking can be relatively tight. So parking for the motel would have to be dedicated for the motel. There's nothing worse than coming back from your evening out or going to your wedding or whatever it is and coming back and finding you got no place to park when you rented a room at the motel. So here we will require dedicated parking, and how that comes about will be seen at a later date if the application is approved by West Grey Council. As proposed, the motel will be set back approximately 3 meters from the west property line. That's where it looks relatively close along that edge of the property. A buffer area comprising of a planting area or fence will be required along all lot lines that abut lots that are zoned residential. And that's basically along the west, in this particular case, in a smaller portion. Site plan will prohibit outdoor lighting along the rear western side of the building. Required grading such that stormwater does not run onto abutting lots. The lot is within the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority regulated area for this Saugeen River and Durham Creek. A new stormwater system is to be constructed at the developer's cost. In this particular case, it's basically the stuff, the stormwater on the property itself that needs to be done. We do have stormwater capacity within the road allowance that can be connected to. So it's basically the on-site stormwater in this particular case that needs to be dealt with, as opposed to any changes within the West Grey road allowance for stormwater. Sadler Street West in this particular case is a full orbit profile with the sidewalk on the north side. The site plan agreement would be required if the application is approved. The development will be able to connect to municipal water, municipal sewer, and be provided with adequate stormwater. In terms of the Planning Act requirements, there is a public notice, public meeting, and public appeal rights. The Planning Act requires one public meeting that's being held today, August 12, 2025. Planning Act public notice requirements were a requirement to notify property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Under the Planning Act, posted signs requirements. West Grey required the posting of a sign at the entrance of the property. There'll be no further mandatory public meetings on this application. The Planning Act limits appeals of any future decision of West Grey Council to the property owner, specified agencies, and specified individuals. Neighboring property owners do not have a right to appeal the decision of West Gray Council. And I will note that there's being no recommendation being made on this application to West Gray Council today. In terms of decision-making process, a detailed planning report and recommendation will be prepared by West Gray staff, presented to West Gray Council at a council date still to be determined. West Gray will provide a letter to those indicating interest in this application, providing the date that the planning report and recommendation is to be rented to West Gray Council. Members of the public who wish to address council at the future council meeting are to do so during the public comment section of a council meeting. The public comments are limited to 2 minutes per person. And that is the extent of my report to council today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. This time, is there any comments from the applicant? Dana?
Good afternoon. Dana Kiefer again with Cobite Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. So just a couple of things I wanted to highlight for council about the proposal. Dave did a great job going over the planning considerations. I'll maybe speak a little bit more to the site design considerations. Since our application was made, the plans have been updated. And so there will only be 8 units rather than 10 that was referenced in the planning report. Did want to clarify for council that it will be a 1-story building. It's also only about 2,400 square feet. So it's not a very large building. Also to note, residents of the motel will not have any direct access to the rear yard, and that's the yard that is going to abut the residential use to the west. So the building is being pushed back, which is why we're requesting a yard reduction, but the residents won't have access to that. They will have access and enter the motel through the eastern side. Again, it makes sense to orient the building this way. That's going to orient the building to Main Street, which is going to give it maximum exposure, and also place those entrances on the Garifraxa side. This also uses the building as a natural barricade between the people who are in that residence to the west and the commercial use. So that building is going to be between them and the comings and goings. Also wanted to know for council, the developer is committed to doing a 1.8 meter fence, which is 6 feet, board fence for that buffer that Dave mentioned that will be required. That's everything that I wanted to highlight, but I'm very happy to answer any council questions if there are any. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dana. Any other comments from the applicant? Then I'll go, any comments from the public? And Ashley, do we have anybody online? Certain person to take his hat off with the, there we go. Yeah. No, thank you, Ashley. Any comments from anybody in the audience today? Please. Take the podium, and I think there is a sign sheet there. Yep, you can do that and just give your name, please. Yeah. Yeah, we got you multitasking there, sorry. Yeah. Gray button. There you are.
There.
You're live.
Okay, I have a couple of concerns. I'm the house that's adjacent to the, oh, Gilbert Pinckney. Okay, one of the concerns I have is, or actually a few concerns, is if we allow, or if the parking is designated for motel use only, where are the staff parking from the, or where is parking for the Foundry employees going to be located? Number 2, there is a bylaw that states 1 parking space for every 4 people allowed in the business. They only have 24 parking spaces in that parking lot for the Foundry. That's 96 people. So by the time you take the patio people, the Foundry people, and then if there is the event held in the back, doesn't leave too many people for event in the back end, because they only have 24 parking spaces in the parking lot, and then there will be no parking for the staff. So that's one concern. The other concern is when they have deliveries made, the transport trucks park and block my driveway because there's no designated parking spot for the transport trucks when they make their deliveries. The other thing is, if they make that parking lot where the motel is, build it up, My property has never flooded like in the past, like across the road by the laundromat where they had 8 feet of water. My neighbor beside me at the other red brick house, he had 5 feet of water during the last flood. My basement only had a foot of water. If they build up that fence or build up the ground like they did with the Foundry parking lot, the water's going to flow from the river. The last rainstorm that we had in Durham just this last month or two, my neighbor's parking lot or my neighbor's place backyard started flooding. The water flowed from his part from the river through his backyard into my backyard and out the back. If they build up the parking lot anymore, my backyard is going to be lower. So where's that water going to flow to? So that's another concern I have. And then the other concern is it just going to be for motel people passing through? Because, or is it going to become where anyone that's kicked out of Durham that goes to the motel in Hanover that the police drop off, is it going to become a spot like that in Durham? And we all know what I mean, right? The people that like the meth heads and all that the police take, are they going to become a drop off for that eventually? Because anyone that's going through Durham, there's nothing for people to stay at in Durham, unfortunately. You're going to pass through and go to Owen Sound if you're traveling. Durham doesn't have anything besides the Foundry and Tim Hortons. There's nothing like, you know what I mean? Like Listro's growing, Dundalk's growing. And the other thing is water, the water tablet and the water tower. We have the hardest water in Durham, and we're not even considering anything about the water tower, like or anything like that. So is all these buildings that are going up, is it going to affect our water tower? Like Dundalk had to build a water tower just recently. Like, are we even considering like anything like that with all these motels and the condos that are going up? So those are my concerns, and yeah.
I'm going to take a stab at the last question.
Yeah.
There has been, there is work going on at the present moment.
Okay.
We do realize that water capacity, and we've been working towards that to make sure that we have, because we have the large residential development on the top of the hill.
Okay.
East of Garifraxa. There are two other ones that are here on Highway County Road 4. And that is that infrastructure.
Okay.
There is a plan to keep expanding that. And you are correct. The water tower, blue tower, the cement holding capacity is fine, secure, but the old water tower itself is getting close to the end of life.
Yeah.
But that is being
Thought of. Okay.
it's in the process of being addressed. The other questions, I'm hopeful maybe somebody has been writing a few remarks and wants to address that at that time. David?
We'll start with this gentleman's comments, and just for council and the public's information is that, as I mentioned, there will be a planning report provided at a later date. Comments from the public, including this gentleman's, will be included within that. And before I get to a couple, and we have also received two written documents or comments on the application itself. In general, a loss of residential character, traffic and safety risks, infrastructure strain, no proven need for the development, and impact on character of the community, traffic and safety concerns, environmental and social impacts, and lack of community support. As I mentioned, our process is to address and to include comments in our written report to council when it comes forward, including what you heard today. Now, in general, some of the comments, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, so stormwater, definitely we do have stormwater concerns. And they've been identified on Sadler Street, not just in this location, but others, and in terms of capital improvements that council has approved. Stormwater is in the movement of waters. You heard from previous applications is certainly foremost on our minds in terms of infill and intensification. And it's one of the things that's very much looked at in terms of making sure that the water doesn't move from one place to the other than what currently does. So as you heard, when we build properties up, we don't send all that extra water to the property next door. We still have to deal with it. And on infill, it's not always simple, but it's certainly something that we have to deal with. In terms of parking, most of the comments I think were addressed in regards to the concerns at the Foundry 1872. The Foundry itself is in a downtown commercial area. Our downtown commercial areas do not require parking. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any development in the downtowns whatsoever. We allow street parking. We allow municipal parking lot parking. We are certainly challenged at times in the wintertime to deal with the issues of parking, but overall, the Foundry 1872 was well within their legal rights under the bylaw to do the particular use. And as you pointed out, they actually do have parking as opposed to some of our other businesses downtown, which do not, and the way it is. We're not taking any parking away that is currently there. The back end of the lot is dirt. It probably has been used for parking, don't get me wrong. But we're not taking anything away that's been kind of dedicated, if I can use that word, to the restaurant itself. And there's plenty of parking available in the street right-of-ways in the downtown area for people to walk to a restaurant and to wherever else. As I mentioned, we will require dedicated parking for the motel in this particular case, and it has, as you noticed, been proposed in that regard. In terms of the motel versus it transitioning into other types of residential uses, at the moment it'll be zoned for a motel. It's not zoned as a boarding house. It's not zoned as a nursing home. It's not zoned as a street townhouse. It'll be zoned as a motel. We do not regulate how long an individual stays in a motel in that regard. So that is part of a private business arrangement. We do expect people, of course, like everywhere else, to keep their properties neat and tidy and to deal with any complaints that may come from neighbors in terms of coming back from the wedding and having a late night party in the parking lot or in front. And as Ms. Kiefer mentioned, keeping those away from the neighbors. So overall, it is zoned for a motel in that regard. Our proposal is to zone for a motel.
Okay, thank you, David. Anyone else? No public comment at this point in time. And Ashley, I'll just ask, there's still nobody online? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Don. Any of the committee members have any questions? Just to remind, we are not making a decision today. This is a public meeting to deal with things. And as Mr. Smith said, there will be a report coming back to this committee and taking those questions, sir, that you had. I'm trying to address those all possibilities and options to address that. Councillor Townsend.
I guess the only thing that really jumps into my mind is, and you are going to put up, I think you said a 6-foot fence around it. Is that going to be high enough to mitigate any noise? Because I mean, it kind of affects almost 6 backyards there. So I'm just wondering about noise. That's all. I'm just.
Yeah, please, Don.
Name is Don Trumbull. I'm one of the partners. There's 9 of us involved in this. As far as that we're doing the fence, and as far as sound, there's no windows in the back of the motel. We will definitely do extremely soundproofing regardless. I can't see it being any more noise than there is now, if not less, because we're doing it's almost like doing a berm to stop any noise. So as far as that, and as far as the comment about renting to, it will be a fairly high end. You can see what we did at the restaurant. I have partners that have real good taste, and it's going to be a high end motel. It's not going to be your drop in rent for. It's going to be very classy. So it's something that people say we don't need it. I get a ton of phone calls. So every time there's a wedding or something, and in Durham, we seem to get phone calls to our business, and we felt this was just another great thing for West Gray. All our partners are all West Gray people except one. It's a big investment on some of us. Some of us are quite old or getting older as partners and might never see a return, but I think it's a return to as being a citizen of West Gray, just to add one more thing to improve and also people don't realize how many, there is no place to stop. As you said, you got to go to Owen Sound. You could go to Hanover. You got to go to Walkerton. There's a Rockwood Terrace being built right now, and we get several phone calls. People work late. Where can we stay? And we have to send them to Owen Sound or Walkerton. So there is a need for it. And I think our designs is going to look really good. It's going to add something else to West Gray to be that we're definitely as partners are very proud to propose this. And just one more thing to say, like, let's not drive through. Let's stop and eat the Foundry. Let's stop and walk the trails. Let's stop and stay in West Gray. So I just don't want the wrong impression that it's we're doing it to beautify this place, and we don't promote it enough for what we have here, the walking trails, the conservation stuff. People, they have to just drive through because they have nowhere to stop, nowhere to stay if they don't drive through. So, I don't think noise definitely won't be a problem. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Okay, any other comments? Yes? No, let's get to the microphone first.
We're putting a fence down the backyard where the back of the motel, but what about the person in front of the motel where they're walking out to? Is there going to be a fence put up along that area? So I don't have to look at the people in the motel, and so they don't look into my backyard for privacy? Because if we pull up the map of the houses, my house is a red brick house, and the front of the motel, people are going to be looking into my backyard because I only have a 4-foot fence. So there's going to be a fence going up in front of the motel so that according to the back of the motel.
Our comment was that we would require a fence where we abut a residential use.
Right.
Not a residentially zoned use, but a residential use. So that may be a little bit more than the partners are looking at the moment, but that is the relationship that we're looking at. But that doesn't include, the Foundry property kind of thing. This is in relationship to the motel. So it may look a little strange in places where, where it comes about, but.
So. Do you want to make comment on that, Don?
Yeah.
Can I just see that so I can show you guys what yard I'm talking about?
I think we know exactly.
Okay. So this would be my property right here, right? The red brick
Correct.
house. Because this is the motel's going, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a fence going up here so that my backyard here? Okay, so
Yes.
it's going to be a fence. Okay,
There is.
that's all I need to know.
There is a fence there.
Okay.
Opposed. Yep. Okay, we're good. All right. Nobody else? Well, thank you, everyone. I think that's all the business we have. So thank you, everybody, and all business done on the agenda. I'm going to adjourn. Thank you.